So my unpopular opinion is that Git is awful and it needs to die. Die, die, die.
Wow.
That's a pretty unpopular opinion.
Why? Why?
Yeah. Well, because it doesn't scale. Among other things. Also, it's completely unintuitive, and it's honestly, it's. Oh God, you're gonna get me ranting. Look, first of all, I've seen reviews.
I don't get the unintuitive part. I guess because I used SVN and Perforce, those don't feel very intuitive either. SVN emotionally hurt me. I did love Tortoise, though. Tortoise SVN. And a company that Bisco and I both worked at, Computers Unlimited, which sounds like a 1970s computer repair shop. So they renamed it Tim's, which is now sounds like a fishing shop. They had a even wrapper around everything called Trebuchet, which everyone just called Tree Bucket. And I hated it. I hated my life. I hated it. I hate it. I don't want to go back to SVN. The thing is that I don't mind, specifically on something like this, I don't mind if you shit on it, but I want to hear a good alternative. All right, let's see some alternatives here.
Vision control systems come and go, right? I started with RCS and then CVS and then SVN and then Perforce, and it went on and on. Piper at Google and then Git and Mercurial, and I mean Git was just another one. And it had great marketing and it had some sort of great virality. It's really kind of garbage. The whole thing is just it's very powerful and flexible, but and it doesn't scale. Like fundamentally, all the companies that we work with that use Git have maybe 100,000 Git repos. What are you going to do with 100,000 Git repos? Android struggled with this mightily when I was on the Android team at Google, right? I mean, we had all these huge wrappers around Git to deal with multiple repos because of the open source problem and the internal stuff. And I just learned to hate Git.
But is that a Git problem? Was that a Git problem, or was that not a Git problem? You have part of first off, you have part of your thing that's open source, part of it that's not open source. By the way, the not open source part, that's the spying part. That's the NSA backdoor issue. You know what I'm talking about? That's the backdoor part. Anyway, so when you're hiding your backdoor, now you're trying to have like two repos that are going together. I mean, that's always difficult. Like, is that ever easy? I don't think it is. Submodules? Did you just say the word submodule? Submodule is the world's greatest idea that is emotionally painful every time it happens. Nobody likes submodules. Everybody thinks submodules are going to be good. Nobody loves submodules. We still use submodules. I hate it here.
I hate Git. And I think that there's an unhealthy dependence on both Git and GitHub. I think
that's fair. I think the GitHub reliance thing is actually a real... That's a fair critique, which is now we really just wrapped up a single point of failure. And it's also owned by Microsoft, so I don't trust it at all now. I'm just wondering when the next monetization is going to come out from it, other than using all my sweet, sweet programs, whether or not my license says not to for Copilot. But besides for that, I'm just saying.
I think that GitHub is a monopoly. They're closed fundamentally. I think that Microsoft under Satya has been a very open ecosystem, right? Look at VS Code.
Yeah.
Right? They've done some really cool stuff, but GitHub was...
I don't trust this guy's opinion anymore. This is getting hard for me to really love this opinion because I'm just saying that's a hard opinion to believe that it's just really open when Copilot X works only for VS Code. They're building these like spaces online and everything. They're just trying to take your computer, take everything, and just charge you monthly for it. I don't trust Microsoft one bit.
It's an acquisition, and they're still...
We're just doing VS Code because it's free and we love developers. We want a great system for you. Really? When has a company ever been really great for no reason? Come on.
Very, very closed off, and and I think developers like GitHub too much. I mean, maybe the alternatives aren't that great, but like I see this.
You like it just too much. Too much liking going on. It will stop from here on out. I do get what he's saying, though. I do get what he's saying. It's a great product. I mean, the thing is it's a good product. Have you used Stash? Stash is not that much fun. Okay? I haven't used GitLab. I don't have enough use with GitLab to really understand it.
This attachment to it, and I'm like, stuff changes, and you're not holding a high enough bar. Git's not good enough. You should never be satisfied with the state of the art if it's killing you. And right now, the state of the art is killing us.
How's it killing us?
Yeah,
100,000 repos. Every company has a bazillion repos.
Oh, okay, that's the killing us.
But why is that bad? I got to understand, why is having multiple repos bad? Why is having Netflix's Python / whatever the hell the language is, repo that is designed to help produce algorithmic recommendations separated from the UI library? Why is that good or bad? Right? To me, I don't see why they have to be the same code base, right? I don't even see why they're related.
But who's feeling that pain? I'm not feeling that pain.
Well, you don't have that many repos. Is anybody working on this? Who's working on this?
Well, Facebook just launched, what is it, Sapling, right? Which looks kind of promising, although it didn't start getting the acceleration that I was looking at. But changing code hosts is a big deal for people. You guys want an unpopular opinion. I'm giving you like potentially the most.
No, we're with you. This is part of the game here. We're playing the game.
I'm enjoying this. I'm considering it. I do like GitHub. I'm wondering, you said maybe they like it too much. And I'm thinking the product is good though. So that's why I like it. Like it's good.
It's decent. You haven't used Google's tools.
True.
Checkmate. I am curious about Google's internal tool. I've never worked at Google. It'd be fun to actually use, like, what does a company that builds everything themselves, what does it look like? Right? I know. You've never used Google tools, i.e. you never passed Google's interview, i.e. wrecked. Draw the little square. Proved. But real talk, I would like to try out Google's tools, right? I've never worked at Google. I think it'd be a lot of fun. So, oh no, could be cool. I think I'd get bored pretty quick at Google, though. Real talk, I think I'd get pretty bored. So if Google's tools are that much better, then why doesn't Google make a better revisioning system? And then why doesn't Google create the hosting for it? And why doesn't Google just simply make all the monies from it? Right? There has to be a lot of monies on it. And you got Google Bard, the subpar AI. Why not just have a hosting service for free and then slurp up all the data from it?
So maybe we need a source graph, another source graph.
Source graph, I would argue is, because the folks at Source Graph actually love GitHub and haven't used Google's tools. Source graph is, Source graph is better than GitHub in a lot of ways, but, Source graph doesn't try to be GitHub with all the workflows and all that stuff.
Right.
So
TJ, wrecked. TJ is in shambles. TJ, are you in shambles right now? Shambled TJ. Shout out. Can we get a shout out for TJ? He works at SourceGraph. Why would I be in shambles? Because you're just like a not as good GitHub as what I take from this, and GitHub's killing people. So that means you're killing people faster.
What I mean by that is Byung worked there and Quinn worked there. The history of knowing Google tools, using Google tools, and then being an expat of Google and then doing something about it is what I mean by that.
They were the inspiration for Source
Right.
Graph.
We need somebody to say, okay, I've been in Google and I've used Google tooling, and we need a non-GitHub that is Google tooling that's better.
A startup that knows Google's tools but can then recreate them.
Yeah. Who's going to do that?
I think that doing that sounds unfun. I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't think I would like doing that. Personally.
Who would you bet on to do that?
You mean to come up with a Google style tools? Well, that's.
I really wish you would qualify what a Google tool is, because I think that would help a lot of us try to understand exactly what does he mean by why Google is better. Like I love like an example or a diagram or something that I understand why it's better, because I guess I'm a little confused as to why it's better. Think Angular. I don't want to think about that.
Come on, man, that's my dream. Hopefully me.
That's my dream. Oh, I see. So this is like the beginning. This might be the beginning of a new story.
Sorry, by the way, his volume's very low. It's been hard. I'm trying to get it as good as I can.
It could be.
I like that. So Git isn't good enough, and I think you said GitHub is bad. I'm just trying to think of how.
I would love a compare feature that doesn't require me to have a pull request and then manipulate the URL. Just saying, that'd be kind of nice. Just give me just a button that says compare. Give me a button that says diff.
Like if I was going to put this
We're not going to try to. If you're trying to read the tea leaves, if I'm not trying to tackle GitHub or anything like that right now,
Fair enough.
Unfortunately, it's the least bad, right? It's the least of all the bad options, least bad of all of them out there. But I truly believe it could be a lot better, and that AI is going to make it a lot better. And so, I love being at SourceGraph because we can actually bring that experience across. There are still Bitbucket users in the world. I'm one.
I mean, to be fair, I use Stash, which is like, that's just Bitbucket. So I get it. Netflix is all on Bitbucket. So, I deal with them. Honestly, Bitbucket, not all that bad. We have a good setup. If I want some automation, I click a bunch of buttons on Jenkins for about 20 minutes until I find the job that I actually want, because their search is really confusing, and we have multiple subdomains to different builds. Once I find the build I want, I copy the build and the configuration. Then when I get the configuration, I update it to point at the new Stash URL, and then boom, I got CI. CI. You know what I mean? It's pretty neat.
And get not the Bitbucket's great either, but
have you used Fossil SCM from Richard Hipp from SQLite?
No, but
it's a completely different way of thinking about it. Maybe give that a look.
Fossil, you never commit, right? Like it's always.
You commit, but everything's always synchronized around everybody's. It's still distributed, but it's always synchronized.
It's never on your machine only. You never have to git push master. It's just there.
I don't know if it scales or not, but they use it for SQLite.
Yeah. I think fundamentally we need somebody who comes at this from the perspective of we need to make this scale up to world scale code bases.
Okay.
And I think that will ultimately come out of industry. I think Facebook Sapling might be the closest, but we'll see.
Or an ex-Googler, somebody who leaves Google and says, I need a company. You know what's good was Google's tools. You know what's bad is Git. And I'm going to try to tackle this. That could happen.
I still want to know what makes it better. Just give me a 3-second explanation. What's the thing? Gosh, I'm so curious. Is this actually is this Google hiring a guy to secretly get people to want to work at Google by not telling them, but telling them how great their tools are? Is this like a PSYOP of the greatest amount? Because I'm feeling very PSYOPed right now. I'm feeling super PSYOPed, and all of a sudden I have this great desire to go work at Google to go touch their tools. I'm getting foreplayed. This is foreplay. I'm foreplayed.
What is Google's tools in this case? Like, what do they have that would be better? The scale version of it.
Why did you ask?
Can you describe it, or is it under like NDA and you can't tell anything about it forever?
I got foreplayed for 5 minutes straight, and now we're hearing about it. All right. Pre-watched. No.
Yeah, it's just that like the code graph, gets exposed across the entire workflow. So, in GitHub, if you see a symbol in a pull request, you can't click on it or hover it or get, graph information about it, like in your IDE. They don't have IDE quality indexing when you're, looking at like when you're looking at trace logs or debug views or whatever. All of that stuff is completely and fully instrumented at Google, where, so in other words, their ability to discover and diagnose problems is just unprecedented. Yeah. There's a gestalt to it that's really hard to get across.
That sounds like what SourceGraph's doing. He works at SourceGraph, right? I mean, I love that idea. I mean, I would like that, but that's not, I mean, to me, what he just described isn't a Git problem specifically. Isn't it a tool on top of Git? Because, like, is the revision the real thing that's needed? Is that what causes it? Or is this actually just a tool on top of code to be smarter about everything? It feels like it's things. We've abstracted over Git. You can use other version control systems as well. Yeah, that's what I mean. Is the version control really the place that this should live to begin with? It kind of seems like this is something bigger, right? This is LSP for the future. How has there been 3 golden kappas in this chat? Why are people getting golden kappas? I never get a golden kappa. Why is my kappa never golden? Okay? Yes, that's also my team works on it. We've talked about this for a while. I know we've talked about this, and we talked about, but that's what I'm saying is why? I don't get the dislike for Git. I guess that's where I'm struggling is I don't see the connection between Git and what he just described. Maybe one could argue that you could. I mean, could you store language level features in a revision system? Yeah, because that's kind of what I see is that there's a revision system in which would have to store like stuff about what's happening because how is it supposed to understand JavaScript or the linking between 2 libraries that are internal? Like, why would you want to do that? That's why I love Sourcegraph, right? I want more Sourcegraph in my life, not less, but more. I want more TJ.
But it's a very comfy environment.
By the way, TJ, if I ever decide to try to get a different job, I would apply for Sourcegraph. Just let them know that they've won me over. Okay? And it was you. If I were to apply somewhere else, I'd apply Sourcegraph.
It's like a world scale IDE almost, except it's distributed internally.
Can I use some of your words from what you wrote? This is in regards to code search at Google. So I would imagine there's some similarity in satisfaction score potentially for this intelligence, I suppose. You said.
By the way, this guy's voice is the only normalized voice in this whole thing.
Google Code Search is like the Matrix, except for developers. It has near perfect satisfaction score on Google's internal surveys, and pretty much every dev who leaves Google misses it. This is in regards to code search. This is the reason why Sourcegraph exists, because this was only at Google and everybody else needs it too. And you go on to say, Google engineers today can navigate and understand their own multi-billion line code base better than perhaps any other group of devs in such a large environment. So are you saying that they have a tool like Git or GitHub that gives them that intelligence that's better, and no one else has access to this thing? And this is their proverbial secret sauce behind the scenes to be more efficient as an engineering team, despite everyone now having to work on AI and kind of being behind the ball.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Their tooling environment. In fact, Google's entire infrastructure stack, not just the tools, but everything that you use as a developer there, even the docs and stuff are just unbelievably good, stupidly good. Like you just come in and you're like, what? Like it makes no sense. Like the rest of the world just feels like people just bang on rocks compared to Google stuff.
So I have long kind of shit on, I think, how Google does stuff. Their technical artifacts, how they do promotions. I think it creates a lot of perverse incentives. But based on what he's saying, maybe there are some things that are good from it. This is Huli propaganda. I think everyone is correct, which is if they're so good at all this, why do they kill everything they create? Netflix tooling, we do not have anything like this. Nothing at all. Nothing.
I could never convince them to give it to the rest of the developers. If
Killed by Google. Google Domains, Google Optimize, Google Cloud, IoT Core, Google Album Archive, YouTube Stories, Grasshopper, Conversational Actions, Google Currents, Google Street View, Standalone App, Jacquard, Google Code Completions, Google Stadia, RIP Stadia, Google On Hub, okay, YouTube Originals, Threadit, YouTube Originals, RIP. That was not, wow. Oh my goodness, thank you. Oh gosh, I can't read all this. Oh my goodness. Okay, some of these are fair though. Some of these have to be fair. Like Google killed Google Desktop Bar. Desktop Bar was a small inset window on the Windows toolbar to allow users to perform search without leaving the desktop. I could see why this would be killed, right? I think some of this is a little unfair on some of theirs, right? That was 17 years ago, I know. But I'm just saying, obviously, it's fun to make fun of Google killing tons of projects, but let's be serious. Google's market cap is $1.7 trillion. Like, they are shipping stuff that powers such an incredible amount of the world. Yes. And so you have to explore a bunch, and you have to create stuff that people like, but if it doesn't make a material difference, you have to kill it. because you don't want to have staff and people hired around stuff that isn't producing anything. Like, I get it. I'm not against what they're doing, but the point still stands. They kill stuff. I mean, Netflix kills a bunch of features too. You just don't hear about it because our features are all within a player.
Only Steve Ballmer had been there screaming about developers, right?
Okay, Falcor. Hey, TJ. You know what problem I had just yesterday? My Falcor client couldn't connect to the database server on the current latest build of TVUI. So guess what? Falcor's still alive. Falcor's still alive. It has been developed on in literally a half decade, but it's still alive.
That would do it.
I would do it.
Well, this has been a very good unpopular opinion. Maybe
I like it. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm still thinking about it. Yeah. I would love to see it. I'd love to see like a demo, for the rest of the world. Because sometimes you don't know you're banging on rocks until you see somebody who has like a more sophisticated tool. And you're like,
Kind of like when you're in VS Code and you don't realize how sophisticated it can be. So then you see someone in NeoVim and you're just like, wow, I've been banging on rocks this whole time.
oh, I could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see Google code search if you just type Chromium code search. They've indexed. I actually did.
I do like their Chromium code search stuff. I used it quite a bit to explore the V8 engine. It's very, very good. Their Chromium code search stuff is incredible.
This was on my way out. It was my swan song at Google, at least in the code search team. It was indexing the Android and Chromium code bases. So you can play with it. It doesn't have all of the functionality, but it has a lot, and you can see it's very slick. Navigation. It's just really, really good. But that's only the search stuff, and that's actually not even used that much compared to some of the other things like their quick editor. And Cider they have, and Sitsi, their client in the cloud. They have basically cloud-based clients. And oh my God, the stuff they have is like science fiction. Still, the stuff they had 15 years ago is still science fiction for the rest of the world. Like they have high-speed networks, and they can do incredible. I could go on and on about it. It's really nuts. It's really nuts. So yeah, the rest of the world is kind of hurting, and that's why I'm still in this space, because I think the rest of the world needs to get to where Google's at.
Wow. Thank you, Changelog. That was awesome. Hey, that's me in my own video being promoted to me. Thank you. That was actually really good. I really like that. Okay, so I'm still confused by the Git thing still. I don't understand why Git's the problem on this stuff, but I understand what he's trying to say, which is that the tools we use are absolutely awful comparatively to what, say, Google has. Either way, it's very interesting. I really want to just get like I want to go experience the Google tools just to feel them and then take that experience and go, that's what they mean. This is why it's bad. I would love it. I would love that experience. Either way, the name is, I don't understand why it gets like so battle it's killing. It seems kind of intense, but I guess I haven't seen the other side. Maybe I'm just the one with rocks here, okay? Jen.